ton of things to get through today, my friends. I had to make some time to make this news video, but I'm coming back to the UK very soon. So hope you guys enjoy. Sit back, relax, and let's break down the massive reports that have been released these last 24 hours. Let's start with the interesting reports surrounding our plans for our goalkeepers for next season. Now, a lot of fans are in belief that we may be back in the market yet again to sign a new goalkeeper to add to the arsenal of keepers we already own at this football club. But based on reports coming out from many UK journalists, from many different publications, they're all kind of reiterating and confirming the same story, and that's the fact that we aren't signing any goalkeepers in the summer. Now, I'll let you guys take some time to process what I've just said, but let's actually go through the rest of the story to understand what the hell is going on and what the line of thinking is behind things. Now, one of the positive bits of news is that it does seem like Joao Petrovic is set to return back to the football club to fire out for the number one spot. Now, he's having a top season with RB Strasbourg. I don't know why I just said it like that. And I'm going to release a video just discussing what Petrovic has been doing, because I like some of the things I saw from him last season, considering that he came in quite late, making a massive step up from playing in the MLS to playing in the Premier League. And I think all of us felt a bit sorry for him that he was kind of discarded in the summer. And I didn't like the manner in which this happened, because originally we were open to a sale before we realized no buyers were coming in, and then we forced him to move to Strasbourg. Now, this was the best thing to happen to Petrovic, going to Strasbourg, where he's really performing very well. Their manager in Rosenier is constantly calling him a world-class goalkeeper, and the important thing is he is able to work on certain weaknesses in his game, or not even weaknesses, but fine-tune them and improve them even more. And he has been praised for his distribution this season, now that he's playing in a similar setup to what he could be expecting when he returns here for next season. So that's great news for him. The guy's a phenomenal penalty saver. I think he has the potential to be a top goalkeeper, and I think it is fair that he comes back to assert himself next season. But the reality is, though, if he's coming back and you already have Jorgensen, who the club also feel has the potential to be an elite level goalkeeper, alongside Robert Sanchez, I think read between the lines, it clearly communicates that someone is leaving, and I think ideally that is probably Robert Sanchez, because he has age working against him. Now, I'd be incredibly surprised to see if any club pays close to the money we paid to sign Sanchez to begin with. I think that will be its own little transfer saga in the summer. But I'm actually kind of okay with this news. Now, you guys know I've been a massive fan of your Diogo Costas. I love to see like a big guy come between the sticks, because when you're ready to win things, every winning team has that serious keeper and goal man. But the reality also is that we have two top prospects in Penders and Slonina. We have Jorgensen, we have Petrovic. It feels like we're kind of stacked. And out of all five of the goalkeepers we have, if one of these guys can't make it here, or two of them at least, I think it communicates bigger issues than just recruitment, to be fair with you. So ideally, Petrovic comes back. Maybe he's competing alongside Jorgensen. That's my vision for next season. And Mike Penders then goes to Strasbourg for the next 2 to 3 years minimum. Because for God's sake, when Courtois was signed once upon a time from Belgium, he didn't come straight to our team to kick out Petrovic. He did his thing with Atleti for like 2 to 3 years before he was ready to compete alongside Petrovic. That's how this is supposed to work, right? So Penders seems like a super talent for the future. He's now only getting minutes in game time now. But if we're going to do this development thing, we got to do it properly. And currently, the two form guys, probably Petrovic, Jorgensen, because of youth and potential. And let's see if Penders, of course, can force himself in the not too distant future to take that number one spot. So how do you guys feel about this news? Are you annoyed that we aren't signing someone else? Or do you kind of accept that, you know what, we got young guys, let's see what they do. And let's use that money, Nini, on key areas like striker and attack. So let us know how you feel about that. For the final two big stories, I want to spend some time on these ones, but let's talk about what the hell is going on with Joao Felix at AC Milan, because already it seems like the hype factor is kind of dying out already, and Felix has only been in Milan for like, 4 weeks, 5 weeks max, and reports in Italy seem to suggest that Milan may be cooling their interest in looking to secure a permanent move for Felix at the end of this season. Now, I'm going to give you guys a disclaimer straight away. I'm not going to be giving like the black and white type of binary, Felix overhyped, blah, blah, blah. You know, don't be surprised by this. I feel like there's a lot to look at, to read between the lines. There's a lot of context in this report that's going on. And I don't necessarily feel like Felix's future at Milan is over. And I'm going to explain why exactly. Because when Felix first moved to Milan, there were set to be talks held in the summer of a potential €40 million move on a permanent deal for Felix to remain with AC Milan. That's cool. But the reality is Milan are looking very inconsistent. They're out of the Champions League. And at this rate, they might not be getting Champions League football for next season. So if that's the case, they have no money to be spending on Felix, a luxury guy like that. However, this is where there is more context to the story, and it does segue into, yet again, more updates surrounding Rafael Leao, because it has been confirmed, it's getting a bit more public now, that Milan don't see Leao as being unsellable. They feel like he hasn't necessarily stepped up to a different level. And in my opinion, when you see players not stepping up to the right levels, it comes down to actually the environment of the football club. Like, you can't keep going from manager to manager with like different styles that aren't getting the best out of these guys consistently, because you're kind of doing it to yourself and you're doing it to your own investment. So I simply see it as this. If Felix does remain at AC Milan, I don't think Milan will kill the interest. They will want a big discount. But what could work out for all parties actually is if there is a player trade deal where maybe Milan are securing Felix plus money to allow Leao to leave, because Leao has a ridiculous 175 million release clause, which Milan no one will ever pay. The market for big clubs that need wingers like this is getting smaller and smaller. A report seems to suggest that an offer of around 70 million euros could be enough for Milan to depart with Leao, because they have their own financial issues. So if Leao was to go, maybe it makes sense to keep Felix at AC Milan. And this is how I think there's a possibility that a deal like this could happen. We are still looking for that king at left wing. And when you've got Esteval coming in next season, Cole Palmer, are we getting ahead of ourselves to maybe imagine Leao on the left-hand side? He has a bit of experience. Yes, he gets criticised for maybe consistency, blah, 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 and all those things. But I think at this age, sometimes you just need a new environment. And you know what? I'd be very open to seeing Leao coming here, especially if there's a potential for like a mega move and like all these player trade type of deals to go through to engineer it to make it happen. So how do you guys feel about Leao potentially coming in next season? Because reports today confirm the fact that we are also looking at Leao, who has been a long-term target, or not target, but player of interest. That has been the truth. Like nearly every summer there's a Leao link. And if you want Leao, it seems like this summer coming up, this is the chance to secure him. Yeah, I think this summer's going to be really interesting, man. But anyway, let's explain what's going on with Felix with AC Milan. I feel like Felix's issue is that, and I've said this, the idea of him is always better than the reality. But the reality isn't necessarily bad. The reality is just mid. And you got to see it like this, Milan were using guys like Reinders and Pulisic in that role, who were both performing quite well. Now that Felix is here, he's kind of shooting on these guys out the team. And when you're taking the natural spotlight, it means that expectations are already on you based on the hype around you. But also expectations are on you when other guys were actually performing a bit more consistently in your position and you're not outperforming them. That's going to work against you. I sympathize a bit because the reality is this too. Felix hasn't been playing consistently this season. He's now gone to a new club, new environment, new way of playing. There has to be that acclimatization period, which is natural for all players, right? But for certain guys like Felix, where you have all this like massive hype around you, but you're supposed to be the difference maker. You're the guy whose individual ability is that good that you can take games away just like that. And that's something that he's just not been able to show. And some of the criticisms he's getting is that his shots aren't even on target. This is the same criticisms I was saying about him this season, where for all the shots, he's not even testing the keeper with them. I think it really explains where Felix is. And ideally, I think Felix should have been a bit more humble when he had left Atleti. Go a step down, find yourself, get consistency, find your confidence before you make the move back to a big club. But I don't know, that's how I would have done things. But, let's hope that he can turn things around, because ideally you want Felix to perform, because what are we going to do with him in the summer if Milan were to turn him down, right? So hopefully things will make sense, but it's a bit complicated. Milan, you know what I mean? Evangelista was like the possession manager. Half the team does well for him. Joao, more direct, more energy off the ball. Half the team is performing well and the other half ain't. It's like when you constantly have this mixed match and the squad's not united, I mean, what do you really expect, right? There's still a bit of time though for Felix to turn things around. Hopefully Joao can tweak the system up a bit more to help improve things. But ultimately, Felix is a bit wasteful on the ball, and Milan just can't accommodate having a player who's losing it and putting the team under defensive pressure, which is one of the main reasons why Maresca wasn't using him. So this curious tale of Felix, man, it keeps on growing and growing and growing. Listen, I've always kind of been fond of him, and I would like to see him get to a point where at least he's like tapped into, like, I don't know, 60% of his potential at least, you know what I mean? But let's see what happens, because Felix is going to be a key player this summer in determining what we can do in the window. So that's that news out of the way. And to end things with a big report, it's official now, but we have finally reached an agreement with Corinthians to sign their now 17-year-old left-back in Evangelista. Now, the fixed fee is around 10 million euros, with 4 million in additions, which would include things like appearance fees, international appearance fees, etc., etc. But on top of that too, there is a 15% sell-on clause engineering this deal that Corinthians can earn in like future profits. And I think that's fair, because obviously the controversy around why Denner's even leaving Corinthians is that a lot of Corinthian people felt like before he was signed, offered that youth contract, he should have been automatically given a pro deal. If that was the case, there'd be a lot more leverage in terms of what's happening right now. Now, Corinthians were forced to sell because another piece of the puzzle was the agent, Bertolucci, someone that we already know of during his time with Lukaku. He has issues with Corinthians. He's earned like 78 million lira, and he's actually taken them to court. So there was a lot of personal reasons for him to want to move Denner out from the football club. And this is why they found themselves in a position where, listen, if they don't accept our offer, which is a very fair offer for a guy that hasn't even made a pro appearance, you've got guaranteed millions coming in right now, and it's not even a guarantee that Denner is going to be like our new Ashley Cole for the next 10 years. Let's keep it real. So it's a very respectful offer we've given them, especially by agreeing the 15% selling clause, which is a big type of clause to include in a deal like this. So I think in the end it's worked out for all parties. Everyone makes their money. Denner becomes like a millionaire overnight. I mean, his youth contract is nothing, and it's already supporting his family. So there's a lot of moving parts, but in the end, it makes sense. But you know what? I'm not going to discuss and break down this game. If you guys want to see that, I have done a video already on him, and I'll link that in the card above somewhere. But there are interesting conversations around this move. Number one, it continues this recent trend we're seeing where we're prioritizing South American talents over our own talents. Now, a lot of South American talents have been leaving for big money these last 2-3 years, but most of them aren't making it. One of the famous recent examples, you're looking at the move of Petrovic to Barcelona, where he then gets loaned out to Real Betis, only scored 4 goals this season, and already now is going back to play for Palmeiras for around $25 million. So for all the potential he had, the environment, the game time, and the patience has not been there to really utilize that. And it brings up cynical conversations like, was Vitor even that good to begin with to be commanding money like this? It seems to be the new way Brazilian clubs are flipping players for massive money, and these guys don't even have enough experience behind them. Look at the recent signing of Vitor. Only started playing at the start of last year at Man City, way too soon in my opinion. He hasn't even filled up physically, and this is how these clubs are making a lot of their money. So it's no surprise why some fans now are having kind of cynical eyes and perspectives, because it's like, you know, most of these big clubs don't have the environment to even really utilize you for right now. So it brings up the question, could Denner obviously naturally find himself at Strasbourg first, which seems the most common sense thing right now that we have our own personal setup that is continuing to develop at that football club. That could be the smart course of action. He hasn't made a pro appearance yet, even though he's really grown physically. Like, this is one of the main reasons why over the course of a year, he was at the under 15s and now he's like, was a 16-year-old playing for the under 20s. And he will be making his pro debut pretty soon as well. He is seen as a massive talent. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But talent really means nothing if the environment is not there to get the best out of it. And I feel like for us, we've put all our eggs in the South American basket. And the main reason is it's one of the main key strategies because we're trying to boost our profile in this region. So you sign some of the best talents in that region, even though it's coming at the expense of your own talents. And I always thought, what if a Cobham star found themselves in an academy set up in one of these countries? Would they not also be seen in an elevated point of view? And we're not necessarily seeing the long-term impacts of these types of moves yet. Obviously, listen, there's still a lot of moving parts. We can't be too cynical. Andre Santos should be coming here. I think this guy, I was saying, he looks like a Bellingham-style type of mid. He has a personality. This guy looks like he'll be a world-class midfield player. Esteval Willian, already as a teenager, one of the leading players in Brazil. That's not an easy thing. Most of the young talents that are getting linked, they're not leading the league at their young age, are they? That's what separates Esteval. And obviously Kendry Paz is already in London right now. But the question really is now, if we're not able to make these guys become world-class and achieve their potential and their talent, it won't say anything about our recruitment. It will say everything about us as a football club, our environment, and how we weren't tailored or suited for this type of model that we put all our eggs into. So that's the news. Another youth signing. He looks a talent, but again, talent at this age isn't really enough. So let's see how this move plays out in the future. So my friends, that's everything today. Share your thoughts and opinions. Don't forget to catch out my YouTube shorts. I'll be releasing an Esteval Willian short today, so stay tuned for that. See you guys all soon. Cool.